Daily Devotion with Pastor Balla for August 12th, 2020 from 2 Samuel chapter 18. Absalom is defeated. Verse 1. Then David mustered the men who were with him and set over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. David was ready to go on the offensive against Absalom. David wanted to go with the troops, remembering what happened when he didn't go with the troops. You may remember the great sin with Bathsheba. He got himself into trouble because he didn't go with the troops. But David's troops said in verse 3, "But the men said, 'You shall not go out. For if we flee, they will not care about us. If half of us die, they will not care about us. But you are worth 10,000 of us. Therefore, it is better that you send us help from the city.' So David stays behind. But then David makes a very unusual request. Verse 5. And the king ordered Joab and Abishai and Ittai, 'Deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom.' And all the people heard when the king gave orders to all the commanders about Absalom. Even though Absalom had taken the throne from David, David wants Absalom to be dealt with gently. This is hard to do, but David made it clear to all the people that Absalom was still his son. Verse 7. And the men of Israel were defeated there by the servants of David, and the loss there was great on that day, 20,000 men. The battle spread over the face of all the country, and the forest devoured more people that day than the sword. It may surprise us that the forest did more harm to the people than they did to each other in battle. Keep that in mind, especially in the next verse, verse 9. And Absalom happened to meet the servants of David. Absalom was riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great oak tree, and his head caught fast in the oak, and he was suspended between heaven and earth, while the mule that was under him went on. Absalom needed to be rescued. Would the troops under David remember what David told them and how to treat Absalom? One of David's men reported Absalom to Joab. Verse 11. Joab said to the man who told him, "What? You saw him? Why then did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have been glad to give you 10 pieces of silver and a belt." But the man said to Joab, "Even if I felt in my hand the weight of 1,000 pieces of silver, I would not reach out my hand against the king's son, for in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, for my sake, protect the young man Absalom." Joab, however, had a different response. Verse 14, Joab said, "I will not waste time like this with you." And he took 3 javelins in his hand and thrust them into the heart of Absalom while he was still alive in the oak. When David heard of it, verse 13, and the king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." King David's response may surprise us, but it is similar to God's response to us. God did die for us, even though we, like Absalom, have rebelled and sinned against God. Even though we deserve death, God is gentle with us. He sacrifices his Son, Jesus Christ, so that we may be lived, so that we may be called sons and daughters of God. Join me again tomorrow as we hear about the return of the King. God's peace and many blessings be with you. Thank you for watching, and please take an opportunity to share this video with others. If you have enjoyed these daily devotions, please consider making a donation to Peace Lutheran Church, 24024 West Main Street, Plainfield, Illinois, 60544. Thank you again for watching.